We're going to take a look at the Talbot Islands, visit some unique beaches. We'll look at the location, history, and take a hike. So the Talbot Islands are located on the north of the St. Johns River. This is 295 right here across the Dames Point Bridge, and then getting on 105/Heckscher Drive/A1A. And you just stay on that all the way up 14 miles to get to Little Talbot Island, and then another couple miles beyond that to get to Blackrock Beach and Boneyard Beach. So that's kind of where we're going. This area was first occupied by what's known as the Archaic people. These were the people that got here before the Timucua. The Timucua didn't even know who they were. They called them the Shell people. And they were here 4,000, 5,000 BC. They built extensive shell rings and mounds in the area. Some of them quite large. There's the Rollins Ring on St. George Island or Fort George Island. There's a large ring down in the Guana area. And these were big, tall rings. We're not sure what they were for. Ceremonial, I would suppose. Anyway, after the Archaic people left, the indigenous folks that the Spanish named the Timucua occupied the area. They did real well until the French got here in 1562 and the Spanish in 1565, taking over Fort Caroline. Spanish started missions to convert the Timucua and also partially enslave them. By the late 1700s, the entire population of the Timucua were gone from war and disease, mostly disease. This area was then covered by plantations and farms until the late 1800s. Tourism started to grow a little bit on Fort George Island. In 1952, Little Talbot Island State Park was open. Of course, back in those days, the beaches were segregated. So it had segregated beaches. And then in 1984, Big Talbot Island was established. So we'll take a little closer look here. And I'm going to go from the bottom up since we're going to go to Little Talbot Islands first. But here's the Mayport Ferry crossing on A1A, and then on up to Little Talbot, and then further up to Blackrock Beach and Boneyard Beach. Remember to visit this area at low tide. Otherwise, a lot of what we're looking at is covered, or you're going to get wet trying to see it. So just find a time when there's low tide and visit at that time. All these areas require daily use fee. Some of them are honor systems, some of them are a payment, but the state parks can use your money. And you can always go online and pay as well after you visit. So just, it's only a $2 fee, so you can afford that. We're going to take a look first at Little Talbot Island. That has what's called the Dune Ridge Trail. It's about a 4-mile loop. It goes from the parking area about 2 miles through Maritime Hammock and dunes, and then about 2 miles on a nice, pretty beach walk. So what you do is you come in, you park in the lot, and then you walk about a 1/4 mile back to the ranger station. Right beyond the ranger station is the trailhead. I'll show you here in a second. So to get there, you turn right off A1A. You'll see a sign. You drive to the ranger station and pay, and then continue on down the road about a 1/4 mile to the parking lot that's on your left. So this is what the parking lot looks like. And the parking lot's right on the beach. So after parking, you turn around, walk back down the road this way, through the ranger station, over the crosswalk, and there's the kiosk for the trailhead. It's a well-maintained, flat, wide trail, really pretty. And it sits on these ancient dune ridge. Some of these sand dunes can be pretty big. These here close to the beach, 20, 30 feet high. And what happened is while the dunes formed, small salt-tolerant plants grew, Root system held the dunes together. They trapped sand and humus and finally formed enough of a layer of soil so that some scrub layer could grow, the kind of scrub you see maybe here. And then over time, more soil came in and live oak, slash pine, cabbage palm, and all sorts of things were able to grow on top of these sand dunes. So you have quite an active forest here sitting on top of the sand dunes. So we'll take a walk for the first mile or so. You can see very pretty, a little bit of a sandy trail. Might not be good for wheelchairs, something like that. Eagle Scouts always build a bench about the time you want to take a break. And then we'll just walk on to the beach. Beautiful trail. We get close to the beach again, we come to these open sand dunes and then come through the break and onto the beach. So you can follow where we're going here on the map. So we're going to come through onto the beach and turn right, and go south back to the parking lot. This part of the beach is far enough away from the parking lot that you're usually pretty much by yourself, which is nice. So you can walk quite a ways here and not see anybody. Little bit of a hint of what we'll see at Boneyard Beach, a few places where trees have been destroyed by saltwater intrusion and left there to bleach out, kind of look like driftwood. And we'll see a lot more of this when we go to Boneyard Beach. So we're low tide, plenty of room to walk, lots of shells, lots of jellyfish. Be careful not to step on the jellyfish. And then we arrive back at the parking lot. There are two access points to the parking lot. I just walked the second one, which is pretty sandy. The first one's more of a boardwalk and might be easier for you if you're having a little difficulty walking. And that brings you back to the parking area. So this is a nice little hike. You get a beautiful walk through maritime hammock, beautiful trees, live oak trees, pine trees, and then you have a nice, real pretty walk along the beach. So you get the best of both worlds on this hike. Okay, we'll drive up a little further, and about 2 or 3 miles further, and come to Blackrock Beach, and you'll notice that by just a small parking area on the right. I'll show you. So this is what the little parking area looks like. It holds maybe, I don't know, 10 cars or so. And after that, it fills up, especially on weekends, especially at low tide. So get there early, and you can't park along the side of A1A. There's a million no parking warnings there, and they'll ticket you and you'll be in big trouble. So get there early enough to get a spot in the small parking area. They've got about a half a mile walk that goes to the beach. No dogs, no swimming. And again, reminder, go when the tide's low and don't forget your fee. So this down here in the corner kind of shows the little trail that leads down to the beach. So when you come to the parking lot, you'll cross over this bike pedestrian walkway that I'll talk about later. And then you just go right down this way. That's the trailhead right down there. Easy to find. See, it's well marked. Again, a beautiful, beautiful walk through maritime hammock. Nice, broad, wide, easy trails. Another Eagle Scout bench. And then we get to the beach. So you can walk about a quarter of a mile or so to the south and look at these unique Blackrock formations. It's not really rock, although when I start showing you some close-ups, you'll think it is. But it's really just compressed sand and organic matter. And it looks like rock. It almost kind of feels like rock, but it comes apart pretty easily if you give it a little bit of a bump. So you can see at low tide, you can see quite a bit of it. When low tide comes in, some of these areas are full of pools. You can see entrapped fish or other sea life in some of these pools and cracks. So that looks pretty much like black rocks, doesn't it? Really a unique, formation here on the beach to look at. Really pretty. So we'll just take a look at some pictures here. A little bit of a tree skeleton there as well. Great place to take visitors to look at some unique beach areas. So head on back. Back to the beach opening and back to the parking lot. So easy, short walk to the beach, really unique formations and something that you don't normally see. So you need to get up there and take a peek at Blackrock Beach, that's for sure. Okay, about a mile beyond that, a little more, is Big Talbot Island. And we'll stop there and then take a good look at Boneyard Beach. Here you turn right off A1A. There's a sign there that says Big Talbot Island, so there's no problem to see that. There's a pretty large parking area, and then there's about a half a mile trail that leads down to the beach. No swimming at this beach. There's a lot of tree skeleton stuff in the water. Just a little too dangerous to do any swimming in there. But I've seen people do a little wading, stuff like that. It's probably okay. So this is the entrance where you pay your fee and then drive in. Parking lot's got a couple porta potties, and off to the right there is a overlook where you can overlook the beach. And then right to the left of the porta potties, a little ways down, is the trailhead right off the parking area. Again, a flat, wide, sandy beach, sandy walk. I brought some helpers on this trip. And then there's another overlook. You can see the beach as well. Pretty view from there. On down the trail. And then that opens up onto the beach. So the beach consists of, like it says here, numerous dead tree trunks, trees killed by saltwater intrusion over time due to rising water, storms, hurricanes, that sort of thing. And they just get bleached out and die, eventually fall down and remain as driftwood. I imagine with sea level rise that some of these beaches will be inundated one of these days. I think an episode of Walking Dead was filmed somewhere along a beach like this. It might have been up in Georgia somewhere, but I remember some scenes of Boneyard beaches in Walking Dead. Like I said, no swimming, but wading and tree climbing are okay. And you can walk about a half a mile down. You could work farther than that if you wanted to and go all the way back to Blackrock Beach. So it's a fun place for kids. There's a unique root system there. So Lucas says thumbs up to Boneyard Beach. It's a great beach to visit. Again, kind of a unique place. It's real easy to visit both these or even all three of these on one trip. So and a good place to take visitors, family visitors, or take kids. So we looked at those three beach areas. And I want to remind you that, oops, sorry. While you're up there, there's some other things worth taking a look at. If you drive past Boneyard Beach and keep going north, you'll come to Spoonbill Pond. You can park on the left side of A1A, cross the road to Spoonbill Pond. It's great birding there. There's a boardwalk. You can view the pond, and you have access there at the Ridge Trail, which is that paved path we saw back there at Blackrock Beach that kind of parallels A1A and goes down. They're building that to go eventually go all the way to the Mayport Ferry. It's not completed all that way yet, but you can stop a couple places and unload your bike and bike along that trail. It's really nice, and it hooks into what's called the East Coast Greenway, which will eventually go even further than that. I believe that's going to connect to the bike trail they're building along the Guana beaches. So that's worth a look. And then there's also down at the bottom there, you see Grand Site Shell Ring and Mound. Now, this was an area where the Timucua tried to replicate what the Shell people had done. And the Timucua built a shell ring, and there's also a burial mound in this location. The National Park Service or is it the state? I guess it's the state that wants to open that up so that you can see it. But as of right now, that's not open yet. I've worked on a couple of trail maintenance projects there where we went there and cleaned the ring off and cleaned around the mound a little bit. And it's really a pretty spot. The ring and the mound look out to the west into the salt marsh, and it's really a pretty scene. But like I say, I don't know when it's going to open. I thought it would be open by now, but it's not advertised anywhere, so it's not open. But keep checking on that. They're going to build a boardwalk and a viewing area there for people to be able to see that without trampling it. So that's coming up. So that's a look at the unique beaches up at Little Talbot and Big Talbot Island. A great place to visit. Some unique beaches. You can take a little hike at Little Talbot and then go up and take a little half-mile walk and visit both these unique beaches, and then go on way up if you want to go to Spoonbill Pond and look at some birds. I guess since it's Earth Day, we should talk a little bit about Earth Day. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the history of it. Every year on April 22nd is Earth Day. Of course, we've been kind of celebrating it all week, and kind of marks the anniversary of the birth of the modern environmental movement, begun in 1970. Before the first Earth Day, we were just kind of choking our rivers and choking our air, leaded gas, massive inefficient automobiles. I remember one of my first cars was a big Pontiac Bonneville. As I recall, it got something like 12 miles to the gallon. Industry belching out smoke and sludge. And we remain pretty much oblivious to environmental concerns for the most part. But then a couple things happened that got our attention. Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, came out in '62. Sold a lot of copies all over the world and started to raise awareness of the environment. And then in 1969, there was a big oil spill off of Santa Barbara. Killed a lot of fish, spoiled the beaches. And then later on that same year was the infamous Cuyahoga River fire in Cleveland. Remember, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the time the river caught on fire in Cleveland, Ohio. So Senator Gaylord Nelson, he's a junior senator from Wisconsin, decided to leverage kind of the student anti-war activism. Of course, this was a time when there was a lot of anti-Vietnam War activism, and students were becoming very active in protest movements. And he thought he could leverage that to try to get something done about the environment. So he organized a day of campus teach-ins and get maximum student participation. So he picked a weekday between spring break and final exams. He picked April 22nd, and so it's always been April 22nd since then. So it ballooned into something much bigger than he could have ever realized. 20 million people on the streets, parks and auditoriums full, and thousands of college students, colleges and universities organized protests, and there were just massive coast-to-coast rallies. And they got results in a hurry. Now, this was under Richard Nixon, not known as a liberal president, that's for sure. And after this first Earth Day, we had the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Environment Education Act, the Occupation Safety and Health Act, the Clean Air Act, a little later, the Clean Water Act, a little later after that, the Endangered Species Act. All of that got spit out in a hurry and began with Earth Day. 1990, it went global, and it's now celebrated all around the world. President Biden has marked today as having a big climate summit to mark Earth Day. If you watching any TV today, Channel 4 had a pretty good bunch of articles on recycling and things like that. Celebrate Earth Day. Theme this year is Restore Our Earth.